This is our story. This is Mavis and Me. Recently we had the BBC here filming about milk production, and because we were in with the dairy cows, Mavis quickly won over the hearts of the film crew, and it seemed like the more they showed her their affection, the more Mavis flirted with them, wanting more and more. And that's when I had to point out to them that Mavis wasn't in calf. And not only that, she was producing that little amount of milk that it was no longer feasible or viable for us to keep her on farm, being able to afford to keep her fed and watered. And with that in mind, that soon she would have to go to be slaughtered herself. Mark suggested, instead of sending Mavis to slaughter, could she in fact end up going into an animal sanctuary? Now there's going to be an awful lot that I'm going to have to think about with this decision, and whatever I choose to do, at the end of the day, it's going to have to be done with Mavis's best interests at heart. As a livestock farmer, I think one of the most frequently asked questions I get is, how can I claim to be an animal lover? To bring animals into this world, to nurture them, to rear them, work with them day in and day out, all through the year, but then at the end ultimately be the one who's signing their death warrant when I'm loading them up onto that trailer and sending them off to the slaughterhouse. Now that's a really important question, and I think one that all livestock farmers have got to be able to answer and understand what we're doing and be able to feel comfortable in what we're doing and be able to answer that question to the general public and the consumer. For me, it's all about purpose of life and quality of life. Now, I don't want to come across sounding like I'm playing God, but I believe if it wasn't for the fact that these animals are needed to feed the consumer and wanted in the food chain, they wouldn't even be born in the first place. And so that's the reason why I think it's our duty, because we are the ones bringing them into the world and responsible for that, that we are the ones responsible for giving them the best life that we possibly can and making sure that they're happy, healthy and have everything that they need. So Mark the cameraman has messaged me with details of the animal sanctuary that he's been looking at, and my first impressions are that it looks very good, but there are still so many questions that I've got in my head. And that might seem a strange thing to say, because the two options are, do I let Mavis stay alive and live out her life fully, or do I send her to slaughter and fulfill her purpose and go into the food chain, which is the whole reason why she was brought onto this planet, in my opinion. Now, my worries are in going to the sanctuary, is she going to have the same standard of life that she's had here with us? As far as I'm concerned, she's been comfortable in the ideal conditions. She's had the ideal nutrition. She's had that checked every month by a professional nutritionist who comes to the farm here. And she's in regular contact with a vet. We have one here every other week to check on our cows. So she is the picture of health. So my question is, what are the conditions like at the sanctuary there? Is she going to get what she needs? And then also just looking at some of the information on the sanctuary website, there are a few things that I'm not overly sure about. They make reference, for example, to calves being taken from the mothers at birth, which yes, they are, of course they are. But then saying that in cases here that they are travelling for up to 2 days to go to calf rearing units. Well, that's absolutely rubbish when we look at production in this country, and a lot of the misconceptions are based on things that happen elsewhere in the world, but we really need to look at the quality standards that we have here in the UK and just concentrate on them and try and lead by example by being the best in the world and supporting British farming. So where am I now? I really don't know. I feel torn in two, and there's still so many more questions and so many more answers that I need.